Mendocino Vino here. As you can probably hear in my voice, I've got a little bit of a cold. So I decided to do something a little bit different this week. I decided to review a book I've recently finished, Vignette. Stories of Life and Wine in 100 Bottles. It's written by Jane Lopes, who is a sommelier originally from the United States, but then recently moved to Australia with her husband. The back of this book describes it as, in Vignette, sommelier Jane Lopes recommends 100 bottles of wine and some spirits and beers to best expand your wine journey, giving you a complete palate education of the important styles, grapes, regions, and flavors of this magical and ever-growing world. Alongside that, you will find imaginative ways to engage with the foundational wine knowledge that underpins a good drinking experience. And then there's Jane's own narrative, the stories of triumph and defeat that comprise her life in wine. It's part memoir and part wine book, but a lot more fun than either alone. These are wines to live with, learn from, and take solace in. A joyous, surprising, and revelatory response to that age-old question, what should I drink? The first thing I'll say is to kind of push back against that description. I would definitely put this book solidly more in the memoir side of things rather than the wine educational side of things. Not saying it doesn't have both, but I would definitely say that the majority of the book is more dedicated to memoir than it is wine education. Also, unless you have a firm foundation of wine knowledge, the wine education part will probably go a little bit over your head. But besides that, I would definitely say it does both those things very well. I really enjoyed the memoir part and I really enjoyed the wine education part. The second thing I'll say about this book is that it's beautifully illustrated. It's illustrated by Robin Coucher, and they do an amazing job. Their illustrations are really beautiful, really imaginative and evocative, and I think that it's a very beautiful book, even if you're not really all that into wine. Another really cool feature of this is that she actually recommends 100 bottles that exemplifies the style of the chapter it's on. So there's a chapter on California Chardonnay, and she recommends a bottle of California Chardonnay. I will say though, she does say that she intended for those bottles to be both affordable and available. And while I have found them to be available, I have not necessarily found them to be affordable by my definition of affordable. All the bottles I found were around the $100 range, which for me is not really affordable, but she does also recommend at the end some other wines that are a little bit lower price point that she also says exemplify the style. So you can also look back there for some suggestions as well. If I had to describe this book, I would probably say that it is about a sommelier and her falling in love with wine and her journey through the wine industry. I think something that the back doesn't really talk about that is really present in the book is the fact that she suffers from chronic pain and has a chronic illness. And so those things definitely feature heavily in the book and I think are important to mention, because I don't think that you can tell her story completely without mentioning those two facts. For my final thoughts on the matter, I definitely recommend picking up a copy, especially if you're a lover of memoirs, wine, or both. She has a passionate but forthright writing style that really pulls you in. I found this to be a page turner. I finished it very quickly because I wanted to know what happened to her and how things worked out for her. The end was very surprising, actually. I won't spoil it for you, although if you are familiar with the wine world, you might know where it's kind of going at the very end there. But it was very interesting to kind of hear it from the inside. So I'll leave you with that kind of cryptic statement. Maybe pick up a copy just to figure out what that means. This is Mendocino Vino. Hope to see you guys next week.